Hello, my name's Al and today I'm going to show you how to fix a puncture. So whether you've got a tube in your tyre or not, you're running tubeless, then I'll show you how to fix it. Of course, it's not the hardest job in the world, but hopefully can offer a bit of advice to make repairing a puncture as fast as possible and get you rolling again. You're not going to need very many parts, tools or anything to fix a puncture. You're going to need either a tube or a puncture repair kit to fix the hole. If your tyre's a bit stubborn, you might need some tyre levers to remove it and possibly to refit it onto the wheel. And of course, you're going to need a pump to reinflate the tyre once you've fixed it. Okay, so we've got a flat here. Let's set about fixing it. First of all, unscrew the dust cap and the lock ring. If you've got a Schrader valve, you won't have a lock ring to unscrew normally. Undo this part of the pressure valve, and this will allow you to release any air that's trapped inside the tube, make it much easier to remove the tyre. With the tyre flat, we can remove from the rim one bead at a time, so that's the first one, and then we can reach inside, grab the tube, pull the valve out and remove it from the tyre. Now, the important bit here is to keep the tube orientated the same as the tyre. This will help us to locate whatever caused the puncture in a second. So grab your tube, attach it to a pump. Obviously if you're at home, it makes sense to use a track pump. Put a bit of air into it and look for the hole. In this case it's obvious, it's pretty big, but if you can't find it straight away, then just run the tube around by your face and you'll feel the air rushing out, you'll be able to find it. If it's really small, then perhaps putting it underwater would be the best idea, just to look for some bubbles to see if you can see any escaping. That will locate the hole for you. Once we have the hole, then we need to place it back onto the wheel, onto the tyre, so we can match the hole up with the tyre. Now we can see here where the hole is. There's also a dirty great big nail in the tyre, so we found our culprit. So if you plan on keeping the tube, then you're going to have to mark the hole, so you're going to be able to fix it later on. So get yourself a pen, a crayon, mark it up, so you can either fix it with a patch now, or perhaps when you get home, if you're not home already. So now that we've found our culprit, obviously we need to remove it from the tyre. In this case, a pair of pliers, probably the best job to pull the nail out of the tyre. If it's a thorn, sometimes a little screwdriver, it's best just to pick it out, or a bit of glass. Of course, it's really important that you find whatever caused your puncture, but some punctures aren't caused by anything at all other than an impact. They're often called snakebite punctures. We've got an example of one here. It's where the tube has been pinched against the rim. The telltale sign is that you'll get two long cuts in the tube as they've been hit against the rim. So in that instance, you're not really looking for a nail or a thorn or anything like that. So you need to go searching. If you have put a big cut in your tyre, then you can use something like this, which is a Park Tool emergency tyre boot. That'll stick inside the tyre and help to stop the tube from herniating through the split in the tyre. If you haven't got one of these, then you're just going to have to try and use whatever you've got to hand, maybe an energy gel wrapper or whatever you can find in the bushes. If you choose to repair your tube, there's loads of options out there. There's glueless patches, which just stick straight on. You just need to make sure that the tube is dry, rough it up with a bit of sandpaper, and then stick it straight on. If you're using a traditional kit, then you need to make sure, again, that the tube is dry, roughen it up, apply plenty of glue in an area that's a little bit bigger than the patch that you're going to use, and then allow the glue to become nice and tacky before you try and stick the patch on. Otherwise it won't adhere properly and the patch could fall off. If you get a puncture with a tubeless setup, then there's several ways to fix it. The easiest is obviously to fit some sealant when you fit the tyre. Most holes will be sealed automatically. You won't even know you've got a puncture in the first place. You might need a few strokes of the pump just to inflate the tyre back to its proper pressure, but generally speaking, it's good stuff. If you put a big cut in your tyre, then you've got a few options. You can try and fix the cut in the tyre with super glue. You can do this from the outside, you don't need to take the tyre off, in the hope that it will stick together and basically make a smaller hole so that the sealant will then go on and seal whatever's left of it. Other option is to fit a patch. So you need some special cement or a tubeless patch kit and a patch. Bit of special cement and a patch, stick that on there and that should seal the tyre up and make it all good to go again. Or obviously do as you would if you had a normal tube tyre and chuck a new tube in. Before you fit a new tube to a tube tyre setup, it makes good sense to ensure that there's no other thorns or anything in the tyre, so you can run a rag around the inside and you'll feel it catch on anything rough. You can use your hand, but obviously you run the risk of cutting it, picking up something nasty. To fit your new tube, just whip off the valve cap and the lock ring and back off the valve as far as it will go with the press the valve, give a little push in, and we need to put some air in the tube. So either use a pump or you can blow some air into it. You just need enough to give it a bit of shape. Grab the valve, fit it into the rim, and then we need to fit the tube into the tyre without twisting it at all. So you'll see that we've only removed one bead during the whole process. There's no need to take the tyre off completely. Then we can go about refitting the second bead. It's best to do this by hand if you can. It's a bit awkward doing it this way around for the camera. If the bead doesn't pop on by hand, you can use tyre levers, but it's best not to. If you've got a really tight tyre, and to be honest, this one isn't really, then you can make sure that the bead is in the centre of the rim, so in the deepest part, so it's got the most slack possible. And then we can feed any slack towards the bottom, which is where this tyre isn't on the rim yet, and just pop it into place. Then before we inflate it, probably one of the most important parts is to ensure that the tube is properly inside the tyre. If it's not, if it's under the bead at any point on either side, then when you inflate it, it's going to explode. So grab the valve, push that up inside, and look all the way around on both sides to make sure the tube isn't visible and then it's not going to explode when you pump it up. So now we're ready to inflate the tyre. Once we've got it to our desired pressure, we need to make sure that the tyre is seated all the way around pretty much all tyres that I've ever seen have got a line around the edge of the bead, so make sure that that's evenly spaced all the way around, just to show that it's definitely seated properly. If it's not, you might need to overinflate the tyre slightly just to pop it onto the rim and then deflate it back down to your desired pressure. So that's it, we've refitted the lock ring and the valve cap. It's all inflated, all ready to go out and hit the trails. Thanks for watching, cheers, see ya!